everyone, this is Handsome Nerd ASMR back with another video. In this video, we're going to be talking about the Clostridium botulinum bacteria. So, we're going to be using a sketchy image to learn more about this bacteria, and the title of the image is Botulism. And so the Clostridium botulinum, it is a gram-positive bacteria. So think about the violet hues in this image, and also in this cultured sample over here. And then it is also spore forming. And so think about the mechanical nuts on the table right over here. So this time we have mechanical nuts rather than a walnut. It is shaped like a rod, and most importantly, it is anaerobic, just like all other Clostridium species. So think about the scientist wearing the oxygen mask over here. And for its reservoir, it can be found in the soil and the dust. And for transmission, it is through foodborne or traumatic implantation. And for pathogenesis, the Clostridium, the botulinum spores survive in the soil and the dust. They will then germinate in moist, warm, nutritious, but non-acidic and anaerobic conditions. And the botulinum toxin is an AB polypeptide neurotoxin. It is coded for by a prophage, and it is heat labile. So for 10 minutes at 60 degrees Celsius, such condition can inactivate the toxin. And its mechanism of action involves being absorbed by the gut and then carried by the blood into the peripheral nervous system, where it is a protease and ultimately cleaves the snare protein. By cleaving the snare protein, the spores or the toxin will block the release of acetylcholine at the neuromuscular junction. This will result in a reversible flaccid paralysis. So you can remember this by thinking about the scientist holding the toxin scissors, snipping the wires that are attached to a power supply unit with the ACH written. This stands for acetylcholine. And so here's a scientist here snipping the wires attached to a power supply. And what's important to remember about Clostridium botulinum is that it has different pertinent effects for adults versus the infants. So, for adults, the toxin is acquired through the ingestion of poorly canned foods. And keep in mind that this toxin is preformed. You can remember this by thinking about the robots that are shaped as cans over here. The toxin can also come from alkaline vegetables like green beans and then smoked fish. dysphagia is trouble upon swallowing. Diplopia is double vision. And then for the type of toxin, it can be found in the stool or the serum. And then for the treatment, you must provide respiratory support in the intensive care unit. You must also check for or consider administering hyperimmune human serum. And then antibiotics may worsen or prolong because it can lyse the bacterial cell, and this can lead to the release of more toxin. So be careful with the antibiotics. And then for prevention, you have to avoid giving honey for infants during the first year. So no honey for this baby robot. No honey for the infants, even though honey tastes sweet.